Hi, everybody. Kristen Cooper, your mortgage gal. Today, I'm excited to have Thomas Gutierrez on this call. We're going to be talking about everything renovation and what is a renovation, when you should consider a renovation, a lot more conversation around this topic lately. So we really want to just kind of dive in deep and give you some information so that we can go from there. So thank you so much for being here, Thomas. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to talking about renovation products with you.
So maybe we could start with, what is a renovation loan?
So, renovation loan is when a borrower, let's say they own a home right now and they need to get some remodeling done. So, they want to finance maybe some remodeling of the kitchen, the bathrooms, maybe add a room, add a bathroom. The most popular thing right now is adding an ADU. These are these types of programs where they can get it financed. They don't actually have to pay anything out of their pocket. And what's nice about them is that you're able to use the value of what the actually home is going to be worth once they actually do these improvements. Now, it's also available for purchase transaction as well when a borrower finds a home that maybe just needs a little TLC and they're getting a good deal on the home because maybe the seller has reduced their price. And so they're able to walk in and do a renovation loan to maybe make it the kitchen of their dreams, or be able to fix up that master bathroom, or even like I mentioned, ADU. You can even add a swimming pool, spa. You can finance solar. There's so many different things that you can do with a renovation loan.
Yeah, I mean, and that's true. There's so many options. I've been in the business over 20 years, and it's funny, I still get people that say, renovation would be great, but I don't want to do an FHA loan. And so there are a lot
Right.
more programs other than FHA. The most known one is the 203K, which is an FHA loan. But you don't have
Correct.
to do an FHA loan. You also have them for, conventional VA, USDA as well, correct?
Absolutely. There's several different types. Back in the day, there was just only the FHA 203K. And there's two types of it. There's the streamline, and then there's the standard edition of the 203K. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac got into the mix of renovation loans here recently, probably within the last 5 to 8 years, when they jumped in. And they're a little bit more lenient. They allow you to do swimming pools, spas, outdoor kitchen, the things that borrowers see on HGTV. Those are the things that you could do under the conventional renovation product. FHA, you could do some, but they keep it real basic. You can't do a pool or spa. They consider those luxury items, but you can remodel your kitchen, add new carpet and do the basic things, AC, air conditioning, heating, add a roof, that type of stuff. And then also VA got into the mix. VA allows the borrowers to use renovation, but they only allow you to go up to $50,000 on renovation for VA. And then USDA follows that same suit. And keep in mind, VA and USDA, they're 100% financing. So they do allow you to purchase a home with little down, but they do cap you on your renovation piece.
Yeah, VA is huge. I'm a first responder advocate. My husband's law enforcement military. I was law enforcement. And so this is really huge because usually, 50,000 is actually goes a long way for cosmetic repairs. If you find a home that you really love, but it just needs some updating, it's a great program
Hmm.
because, like Thomas said, it lets you use the after improved value. So even if you put zero down, you could put the zero down, but it'll allow you to include the upgrade still. So a great option for sure.
Absolutely.
So maybe touch on that just briefly, and you kind of did. It lets you, use after improved value. So really that means, you have the purchase price and you have the upgrade. So what does that mean and how does that work?
Okay, so we'll talk about purchases first, and then we'll talk a little bit about refi. So for the purchase, for the borrowers, when they purchase a home and it needs some work done to it, they're buying it at a certain price. Now, what the work that they're going to do to it, maybe they're going to remodel that kitchen, maybe they're going to put a pool in it, maybe they're going to put an ADU. Automatically, that's going to increase the value of the home. So the borrower, yes, they're getting a steal of a deal, but they're able to finance these items that is going to allow them to do these improvements to the home. So when the appraiser goes out there and appraises the home, he's not appraising the property based on how the property looks today. He's going to be appraising that property based on the bid that we're providing to him of what work the borrower is going to do to that home. And so he's going to then come up with the value and say, oh, they're remodeling the kitchen. Oh, they're remodeling the master bathroom. Things that bring value to the home. Those are the comparables that he's going to look for. So the majority of the time, borrowers, when they do a renovation loan on a purchase, they actually walk into the home with great value, with what the improvements that they've done. So they walk into a home not at 100% on the value. They actually walk in, and sometimes they have some equity already based on their improvements. Now, look at refinances. With refinances, borrowers go to and get a home, a loan, and it's based on how the property looks today. Now, with a renovation loan, you're able to go off of the value of what the home is going to be worth after those improvements are done. So the borrower has a little bit more spending power. And let me talk a little bit what I mean by that is if you do a normal loan, you're capped at 80% loan to value, okay, on a cash out transaction based on what the home is worth today. If they do a renovation loan, they're able to go up to 95% of what the home's value, what it's going to be worth once those improvements that they want done. So it allows them to not be capped at 80%. It allows them to do much more to their home, maybe remodel the bathroom, things that they didn't think they could do. The renovation loan allows them to do that.
Yeah, that's a big one right now, in the environment. It really depends on the environment you are. I mean, I still think we have great rates, comparatively speaking, but they are
Absolutely.
higher than they were. We're not going to
Hmm.
see twos again, but a lot of people want to do upgrades to their home because they don't want to move. And they're limited, getting a second
Correct.
mortgage rates are, quite high on the second mortgage, but they're kind of stuck in that window of, okay, but rates are really low on my first mortgage. And if I get a second mortgage, yeah, it's going to be a higher rate. But the bigger thing is that you're capped, like you said. I mean, most of the time you're capped at 80%. Some guidelines allow you to go higher for a second, but really you can't do them because you hit a APR fee tolerance. So really you're capped at
Sure.
80%. So it doesn't give you enough money to do all the upgrades that you want to do. And this is an option. So it's a great option to consider for that, which is really cool. So maybe if you can talk
Absolutely.
about, and I know, there's so many different programs, whether it's conventional, FHA, they all have their restrictions and their allowances. But maybe if you could talk about what can and cannot be included. And you kind of touched on ADU, which is really, really big right now. So maybe if you could chat a
Mhm.
little bit about that as well.
Sure, absolutely. So with FA, and I'll kind of talk about a little bit. Mostly the most popular renovation products is FHA and conventional. Quite frankly, conventional more. We do a lot of conventional product just because the borrowers are pretty much able to do anything they want done to the home, like a swimming pool, spa, things of that nature, where FHA doesn't allow. So we tend to do more of that, and so really, conventional is really open to remodeling the kitchen. You can finance, if they do a full kitchen remodel, you can even include the appliances in the full kitchen remodel. Now, if you and under FHA, you can as well, but you have to do a full kitchen remodel. That means full demolition of the kitchen and starting with cabinets and countertops and so forth. So you can really do anything you want to do with either product, as long as, of course, you stay within loan limits for both within pro program, and high balance loan amounts are available as well. But talking a little bit about the improvements that they can do, ADUs is, like you said, it's very, very popular right now, and it's been really popular since actually COVID went into play. A lot of people are putting in ADUs on their home because they're bringing in their in-laws or they're bringing in their kids to move into their property. So the problem that you want to look for when you're going with an ADU is whoever's going to build that ADU, find out how long it's going to take to complete the job. Because with renovation loans, they do have only 6 months to complete the work, but that starts once the loan has funded. So once that's funded, you have 6 months to complete the job. So you want to make sure that you're dealing with a contractor who's able to complete that in 6 months. Sometimes what may happen is you may have to order those permits during the transaction and then fund it once you actually have those permits in, because that does speed up the time frame. You may have to order those permits ahead of time to be able to close and be able to complete that job within that time frame.
Yeah. And the other thing, kind of mention just roughly is that, it does have to, almost always has to be a contractor that does the work. It does have to go through a contractor
Correct.
approval process to make sure that the contractor is, licensed, in good standing, is, the work that he does is within realm of the work that he's going to be doing. But the contractor, there is, depending on the scope of work, there is going to be an agreement of how they're paid too. So, typically, and maybe you could touch on this a little bit more, but typically, from my understanding, the hard costs are typically paid at closing. And then depending on how long the work is going to take, there may be what's called draws. It just means that they're paid along the way as work is completed. So it's important to know and talk with the contractor and make sure they're going to be okay with that as well, because they're paid the final payment when an appraiser comes out, confirms all the work's been done, and then they're paid the final payment, correct?
Correct. That is correct. In talking a little bit about the general contractors is we recommend borrowers to work with a general contractor. It makes their life a lot easier, and you being the loan officer as well. because if they're using different contractors, you have to gather paperwork and bids for each additional contractor. And let's face it, they're not sitting in front of a computer desk like me and you do. They are actually out and about in the field getting their work done. So it takes them a while to be able to make those adjustments to the bid or make any adjustments done to the paperwork. Under all of the renovation products, the borrowers chooses who they want to use as their general contractor or their contractor they're choosing. They don't have to be Plaza approved or FHA approved or even conventional approved. But you definitely do want to look at for a contractor that has been doing this for a while. You definitely don't want a brand new general contractor because we do look at the experience of the contractor. If the borrower is doing $100,000 rehab onto their home, we want to make sure that this contractor has done that before. We definitely don't want to have somebody doing that type of job when maybe they've only done a $20,000 renovation job. So definitely kind of quiz your contractors. We will have a checklist that we do go through, so we can send that to the borrower, or you can send that to the borrower to go over that with the contractor. Now, one thing's for sure is the contractor is if they haven't been exposed to renovation loans, they're going to have lots of questions, and we will work as a team to be able to answer any of those questions and make sure that they're comfortable in how it works. Because correct, there are draws in the process. So once the loan has funded, we open up and release the first draw. So that way the contractor can start the renovation. Okay. And then during the process, depending on how big the job is, there could be up to 5 draws. And so we will go over that with the contractor before closing so they understand at what point they're going to get the next draw to be able to continue and work with them on the borrower's renovation.
Yeah, and I mean, just a broad overview of the process really then is, depending on if you're refinancing or purchasing. If you're purchasing, we do the pre-approval with rough numbers up front. So we'll say, okay, what's an estimated amount of work that needs to be done to this property? And then we can kind of give you a ballpark of numbers that you'd be looking at based on, okay, the purchase price is 400,000, the work is 50,000. We do a calculation to let you know what all those numbers are and the down payment that will be required, because the down payment is going to be based on, you're going to have your purchase price plus your renovation, but then also there's a calculation based on what the value is going to be and what our max loan to value is. So we do all that work for you so you don't have to worry about it. And then you can kind of have an idea of what you're looking at. And then let's say you put in an offer, they accept your offer, and your purchase price, let's say, is the 400,000. Well, you need to get a bid pretty quickly if you haven't already. So you need to meet with the contractor and get an actual bid amount, which is going to be used for the process. And that needs to be what's agreed upon in the work that's completed. And so as far as the process timeline really is going to be some requirements that you need as far as getting the bids quickly so that we can get the appraisal ordered quickly so that we can get all the numbers for you. But we help you through that process. Absolutely. So it's not much different than a normal purchase other than you need to meet with a contractor right away and get a contractor bid so that we can, get all the numbers, but also make sure that they're aware of the whole agreements and timeframes moving forward. And then after you purchase the home, meaning that you signed all the final documents, the seller signed all the final documents, you now own that home, then the work starts from there. So the renovation work will start from there, depending on the contractor agreed timeframe that the work needs to be completed is when the work will be completed, and then everything officially closes. So it's like a normal purchase in the sense that your loan closes, everything starts on that normal 30, 40 days, whatever time frame it is going to be. That's your normal purchase, and then the work completes after. So don't get overwhelmed by it. We're here to walk you through the process. That's why I have Thomas here. He's one of our account executives. As a broker, we have different wholesale lenders, and so he's one that we use for renovation and other programs as well. He's amazing. So we'll be here to be able to walk you through it. And then on the refinance, you just give me a call and we talk through what you're trying to accomplish and figure out what we need to do. And then again, you get a contractor bid, and then we can move forward from there. So pretty simple. Yeah. Anything else that you can think of that we should add to the conversation for someone that's thinking about doing a purchase or refinance renovation?
I actually there is, specifically on a purchase. Borrowers need to make sure that when they're looking for a home that they're maybe considering doing a renovation on, they would definitely want to look for houses that have been on the market for some time that maybe have reduced prices, because you definitely don't want to use a renovation loan where a seller is maximizing their profit, because there is no equity there to be able to basically include any repairs or improvements that the new borrower wants to do. So you want to look for homes that have been on the market, sellers have reduced the price, they're getting a steal of a deal. Work with your realtors on that. They know what they're looking for and they can find you those homes. Those are the ones that you want to use a renovation loan on. So just be mindful of that and making sure that, when you're looking for homes that way, you're not looking where the seller is maximizing the profit. You got to make sure it has some equity in there to be able to qualify and start doing some of the renovation pieces that you want done.
Yeah, and depending on the market that you're purchasing in, which right now it's super low inventory, you're gonna have to look at homes that have been sitting for a while that need some TLC. Maybe people are overlooking and just using a renovation loan, it'll be the perfect dream home for you. Those are the ones, yeah. And I'm glad that you added that because that's going to be a huge thing to consider when you're using these type of programs. So that's great. Now, I mean, if you found a home and let's say that it was, fine, and the seller wasn't willing to allow you to do a renovation loan, or it just hit the market, and so it's not one that we can consider, doesn't mean you can't do a future refinance renovation. So you can always look at that. You could just do a normal purchase as long as there's no health and safety issues, and do a cosmetic renovation loan down the road, maybe.
And then also want to add, if you find a house that needs a lot of work and maybe you're going to have to be displaced under the conventional Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's programs, you could actually finance payments of your monthly mortgage payment included into the renovation if you are going to be away from the home, meaning where the contractor is not going to be able to have the water on or electricity on. You can't live there. So at least that helps the borrower be able to finance that one month or 2 months, however long the contractor needs to be able to at least get the home habitable. They're able to, they don't have to worry about handling their rent payment somewhere else or hotel stay, and plus their new mortgage that they just purchased. So just keep that in mind. And of course, if that is the case, Kristen will definitely, and I will go over that with you, and making sure that you understand how that works. But that is an option as well that a lot of borrowers are not informed about.
Yeah, thank you for adding that, because I always forget to mention that on the initial. So that's great. Yeah, and that's true. And it definitely helps, because that's a lot of concern, is like, what am I going to do for the time that, we're going through the renovation if it's not something you can live in. So Thomas, now let's chat a little bit about what real estate agents need to be aware of when we're talking renovation. So we went over the program, the basic information for the consumer to be able to look at and know what they, kind of options that they need to consider. But on the agent side, obviously, when they're prospecting to see if this is something that's a good option for their client on a purchase, what are some things that we need to consider that they, should be asking their client or be aware of? And we obviously already touched on a big one, which is it really needs to be a home that's been sitting for a little bit in order for it to probably work. What is the normal time frame from when we get a contract to close? And now when I say contract close, I know getting the bid is the huge part. So when I talk to clients, I kind of scare them, because I tell them, you need to already have contractors in your pocket, because we need this within 3 business days after your offer is accepted, because I want them to be motivated and that we're not in a position that we're not closing on time. So maybe give me what your kind of timeline is, what you think.
Sure. One thing that I'll encourage is, if agents, they know other agents, and if there's a house that's been sitting on the market and they find out there's no activity with it, and their borrower is very, very interested in doing the renovation loan and really wanting that home, get a bid now. Because by getting a bid now, getting a contractor out there, we can figure out how much they're going to spend, how much they're going to need, and see if the actual numbers are going to work. Now, by getting the bid now, that means you can send that bid to me ahead of time. So that way I can go through it, make sure everything meets the product guidelines, make sure we're into the right product based on what they're doing. And so when they submit that offer in, half that work's already done. So now it just falls into getting the contract, getting submitted, and getting that over to us to fully underwrite, ordering the appraisal. So the bid part is really the biggest delay of a renovation loan. Getting that and the contractors always the biggest delay, because other than that, it's a normal transaction. Me and you are going to do the normal things that we do on any other loan. It's just we have added another third party to it, the contractor, and making sure that we're able to get what we need. So if we can get that up front, which is our goal as a lender to do that up front, and that's why we look at this stuff up front ahead of time, because this helps us be able to close renovation loans in 30 days or less. Now, everyone has the mindset of renovation loans take forever. If you remember renovation loans 20 years ago, they were a nightmare. Agreed. We offered it 20 years ago. But however, things have changed and there's new products that are available. And most importantly, with working with Plaza anyway, we actually retain our renovation loans. So we actually have our forms that you need up front. We have a process in place to be able to get that loan closed in 30 days or less.
Yeah. And I think that's why I wanted you to touch on it, because, they're like, there's no way we're going to close in 30 days. Well, you can,
Yeah,
as long as everybody works together as a team and proper
absolutely.
expectations are set up front, which I think is the important side. I'm telling them you need the
Correct.
bid right away. You're, as the agent are telling them you need a bid right away. I mean, if it's your listing, get a bid to begin with if your home needs work. And let's put
Right.
this as an option for a purchase to have more offers. If it's going to be the same closing, why not get somebody that really wants to love this home, put money into the home, and have more offers and opportunities. So I think it's a great option for sure. Obviously, don't give us a contract Friday at 5 p.m. and want to close
You're right.
early,
Yeah,
which
right,
which
exactly.
happens. It's like, and hopefully you're working on the contractor bid, that weekend. But other things to
Correct.
consider. I mean, obviously, it's a great option. There's a huge benefit. The next question a client's going to have: how much more is it going to cost me, and what are the rates? Yes, the rate's going to be a little bit higher, and yes, there are some additional fees because you're getting so much net worth equity from this program right up front that will pay for it. So it shouldn't be even an obstacle. And I know Thomas probably doesn't want to hear this, but in the next 1 to 2 years, rates are going to drop. So as long as the client makes 6 payments on this mortgage, when rates drop in the future, they get to keep their equity that they just built with this program and go into new terms. And as a broker and the returning client of mine, they pay very little fees to come back and rewrite their loan to a lower rate. So they can afford maybe 2 years of higher payments. And I calculate that out for them. I show them, okay, sure, your payment's going to be whatever, $500 more a month. Calculate that over 2 years. Is it worth that much for you to gain this much more in equity and net worth into your home? So if you show them the numbers, then it makes sense for the people that can really see the advantage, plus showing them side by side. Okay, you can buy the home of your dreams at $800,000. Here's the payment, what it looks like. Or we can buy this home for $500,000 that isn't the home of your dreams yet, put $100,000 into it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you're saving more money, right? Especially if you look at net worth in the long run. So as a normal, I'm a certified mortgage planning specialist. I do the numbers. I show them these numbers. You show them visually. So don't let that be an obstacle. That's why I really wanted to address it. I think people stir away from it for 2 reasons. A, it costs more. It's higher rate, instead of focusing on net worth and rate of return. And then also, I don't want to have to deal with another factor where the loan could fall out and not close on time. So we're telling you as a team that we make sure that we work together so that that doesn't happen.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to touch base on in the first part that you mentioned is already have a contractor lined up with agents. If you guys have your own listings and you know the house is kind of rough, go ahead and meet with a contractor and say, hey, look, I'm gonna have this property. We need some work done to it. Could you just give me a bid on what it'll take? The agents will know this kitchen's not going to sell. Well, what is it going to take to get that kitchen to sell? And maybe getting a sample bid and place it there at your open house or place it at the listing, saying to get this kitchen to have a granite countertop, new cabinets, recessed lightings, stainless steel appliances, it'll cost X amount. This is available through a renovation loan. Contact our preferred lender today. And it definitely will help the borrower see, like, wait a minute, I can make this kitchen into the home of my dreams. Or if the contractor has computer generated of what it could look like and put a picture there, that goes a long way. That'll definitely open up the eyes of the borrowers to be open to buying a property that maybe it's not something that they were wanting to look into, but maybe have them more open to know that they can have this home and maybe the kitchen of their dreams.
Yeah. And on that, caution, just because I've had it happen, be very careful on giving estimates for what you think the work will
Sure.
cost versus getting a bid, because what costs were before and what they may be today is quite a bit different. Even though they've come down some, they're
Absolutely.
still a little bit higher. And I've had it to where an agent's like, yeah, $50,000, you can make this home exactly what you want, which is fair to what it was. And then we get in a contract, they think it's that, we get a bid, now it's $90,000 and the borrower is not happy. And so just, making sure you get realistic numbers up front is super important when we're
For
structuring the
sure.
financing and for affordability and qualifying and all those things. So thank you for adding that, because yeah, getting a bid, and I mean, if you have contractors, they're going to love you because you're giving them business. They're not going to mind coming out and giving you a bid. Especially right now, if you're working with the right people, so that we can make sure that everybody's getting the right numbers up front, because they don't want people mad at them either when they're doing the work because it ended up being more than what they thought it was going to be and hoping for as well. So I appreciate you kind of going over that. So the other thing that I want to touch on, which I get questions on, is self-work. So, and Thomas and I have been talking about this recently on a file. So self-work meaning, client always says, oh, I can do this, or I have a brother that does this. And so we always have those conversations where they're thinking in their head, I could save more money. Really, at the end of the day, and Thomas, correct me if I'm wrong, the only self-work that we're really going to be looking at maybe is something like painting walls, things like that, that maybe the
Correct.
borrower can do, but they could be, they can include the hard costs. So they can include the paint, say this is how much paint it's going to cost to do it. They can't include their labor. And that has to be an FHA 203K loan in order to do that. So if they're not already looking at an FHA loan, it probably isn't going to benefit them with the additional cost going FHA if they have good credit to go to conventional. So it may not be something, and I say that just because I wouldn't even have the conversation of you can do your own work. I would probably leave that out of the conversation unless they're already looking at an FHA loan, to make all of our lives better, because they're going to be frustrated if they think that they can do something and then they find out that they can't.
Absolutely. You are correct there. And also, even if the borrower is a general contractor or a contractor and he says, hey, I can do this. Unfortunately, even though they're licensed, they are not able to do their own work. So they'll just have to, get another contractor, maybe a buddy of theirs that is a general contractor, to be able to do that work for them.
Perfect. And that's what I was going to say. I mean, when you're doing the qualifying, if there's a general contractor, that's the contractor that you're going to be approving and doing the agreement and everything from, not the subcontractors, correct?
Correct. Absolutely. That's why it's best to have the client go with a general contractor, because if they decide to go with multiple contractors, more paperwork, which means you're less likely you're closing less than 30 days, because you're now bringing in multiple parties that you have to get paperwork from. And let's face it, they're not in front of their computer all day long. So if they go with the general, it helps speeds up the process. You're only dealing with one person to gather their contractor paperwork and bids rather than multiple.
Yeah, I think that's a big one too, is just general contractors. So if you don't have that in your pocket yet, maybe start building that relationship to where you have a couple general contractors so that you have them available for these options, especially when there's low inventory. We're trying to find more opportunities, especially for our buyers. And, if you're listing a property for our sellers, this is a great opportunity to be able to help market their property in another way than an agent is not, which just means more buyers for them, which means possibly more, net profit to them as well. So it's a win-win for everybody. So thank you, Thomas, for jumping on here. I really just wanted people to understand that this is a great option, to where we need to have these conversations with clients for the homes that are right. So if you're taking a listing and the home needs work, or if a home's been sitting on the market and you see it and your client's like, ooh, it needs work, let's jump on a call. Let's look at the options that we have available, because it's really not going to be much more headache for you other than having to have a general contractor or a contractor. That's really all that you're going to be dealing with. We're going to take care of everything else on our end. You don't have to do the contractor approval or any of that. We just need to have the bid, and then we do all the work on the back end and keep you updated and moving forward from there. Your clients will love you if you're able to do this type of product for them, because now when they move into the home, or when the work's completed within 6 months, they love their home. They're ecstatic. It's the home that they wanted. Even if you couldn't find them the home that they wanted, you could make them the home that they wanted. So I think it's a great option. And Thomas, anything else that you want to add?
Just one other thing for the agents is, if they have other transactions where maybe they get stuck, appraisal comes in, and maybe it's asking for a new AC or heating, or maybe a new roof, right? And their buyer doesn't have the money to do it, seller doesn't want to spend the money to do it. Definitely reach out to Kristen and talk about a renovation loan, because that particular repair can be rolled over to a renovation loan. It doesn't have to be a full renovation. It could be a simple repair like that. So just being, open to that. Definitely reach out to Kristen if you have any questions in regards to that. But a lot of people at times they forget about that, and sometimes it ends up being a deal killer. So definitely renovation can help fill that need.
Yeah, on your listings too. If you have a deal that falls out because in discovery they found out there's a big issue, we can
Right.
flip it to maybe to renovation. Let's market renovation so that the work gets done. The seller, because a lot of times seller doesn't have the money, right, until they sell the home. So it could be
Right.
an option for you to have it all done without the financing and be able to market as renovation. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out, because I do think that there are those instances that happens, and that we should really consider these options.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well, you guys, if you have any questions around a renovation purchase, or somebody, maybe you're making your calls, following up on your database, and like, hey, we really want to, upgrade our home, we don't want to move, have them reach out to me. We can see if it's something that they can consider. It doesn't mean they're stuck in this home and they're not going to end up selling and buying another home. It just means that when you sell this home in the future, it's going to be in great position. So we can explore those options as well. And I appreciate you allowing me to be your mortgage gal, and look forward to helping you and your clients, hopefully with another deal or two this year from this program. So thanks so much, Thomas. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.